You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, and review. We got a great guest, and he's actually just now coming in. Alan, stop eating. Mark Christopher Lawrence is ready.
I think that Mr. Lawrence would not.
Okay, but stop eating. He's about to come in. All right?
Sig Heil.
All right, we're letting Mark Christopher Lawrence in.
Well, I'm glad he's here, and I'm glad he has the patience of a performer that can see a man eating a hot dog, whereas the host is saying, eat the fucking hot dog. And I'm looking at this man's, I wanted to make a comment on his mockumentary, and you're worried about my goddamn hot dog.
Well, no, because you're eating during an interview, man.
I hope he's
Okay, let's start the interview. Mark Christopher Lawrence is here.
Welcome, sir.
Hey,
What's
Mark
up?
Christopher Lawrence, how are you, buddy?
Yes, sir.
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing
We're
good,
doing
man.
fine. I just finished my lunch. It's a Texas barbecue hot dog at Ralph's, and
Why you gotta rub it in?
You just said it 5 minutes ago.
I got a lollipop.
That's correct. I did rub it in. Oh my God.
Mark, this is Alan Lee, the trusty sidekick.
Rusty? Well, let's not go too far. I should have been in his mockumentary, but that was many years. Fuck, I missed out on it.
So, Mark, how you doing, buddy?
How you doing, bro? We're good.
I'm hanging in there, man. I just finished a lot of travel.
Yeah, you were on the emails we were exchanging. You were like in Dallas, and then I think you went to Cleveland or something.
I was in Colorado from May 8th until May 10th, and then I went from there to home for a day and a half, and then from home I went to Atlanta to DC to New York, home for another 4 days, and then to Dallas.
Now, was that for stand-up or was that for filming stuff?
Colorado was filming. We shot 6 episodes of a new show called Fragment, and I think that's going to be on PureFlix. And then Atlanta was the Human Growth Foundation gala, their awards gala. So I've been working with them for seven years now, hosting their awards gala. And then I went from there to DC for stand-up at the DC Comedy Loft, and then to New York for the Urban Tech gala.
Now, I wanted to ask you, when you film stuff, like whether if you're filming a movie or a TV show and you're in a different city, do you try and do stand-up in that same city, or do you just concentrate on filming?
It depends on how heavy my filming schedule is. Like with that, I didn't have time to do any stand-up.
Yeah.
Because I was a lead. I'm a lead in it, and we shot 6 episodes at the same time, so it was too difficult to do stand-up.
Is it easier for you to be the lead, or is it easier to be the supporting guy where you just say funny stuff?
I'm an actor. I just want to work. You know what I mean? So if the supporting guy that says funny stuff is good, then I'm down with it. If the lead is a good meaty lead role that gives me something to do, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, just like a little backtrack of your past, and then we'll go to your future.
Sure.
You've done 2 sequels. One of them is probably the greatest sequel in movie history, Terminator 2, and the other one is Candy Shack 2, which is probably one of the worst sequels in history. So I wanted to ask, what's that in your mindset? How's that in your belt, when you were doing those works?
Well, Caddyshack 2 was my first movie.
Yeah.
So I was excited to just be on a movie.
Yeah.
My first TV show I was on was Hill Street Blues, my first audition, and I didn't work again in film or TV until Caddyshack 2, which was a year later. So I was just excited to be on set and, brand new at it and happy to be working.
Yeah.
And then Terminator 2 changed the way we watch movies. I mean, the special effects alone is, you know, Michael Jackson was the only one who had done it. The morphing prior to that, it was $10,000 a second.
Wow.
So, you know, Michael Jackson's video, I think it was the black and white video, you know, when that thing came out, it just blew people's mind. And then James Cameron was able to do it in Terminator 2.
Yeah. Now, what was it like being thrown in a window against Arnold Schwarzenegger? Because he's like a pretty short dude, isn't he?
No, Arnold's like 6'2".
Really?
Arnold 6'2". What do you think he was 5'4"?
I heard he was a short guy. Maybe 6'2" short to some people. I don't know.
You're wrong.
Have you ever seen him you know, when he was bodybuilding? He's standing up there, he's towering over people with his bare feet.
Oh no,
Mark, I have met the man.
Yeah,
definitely.
Mark's like me too.
No, you haven't met anybody like at that stature, unless you were bent over. My bad.
Ow.
I promise to be good, and I don't know what's. Forgive me, Mark. That's the devil taking me over.
See, we're gonna pray for you.
So Mark, after Terminator 2, I wanted to ask you about your Living Color experience. Like, because I know you were on it, but were you actually an actual cast member, or?
No, I did a guest star. I played Mr. T in a sketch. I think Jamie Foxx was the lead in the sketch. It was sort of like a game show kind of motif, and Mr. T was one of the characters. And you know, we shaved my head into a mohawk to do it.
Yeah.
And then after the show was over, I had just had them shave it all off, and I was doing a play, and they liked it, so I kept my bald head for the play. And there was a photographer back then that did a thing called painting with light, and he took a picture of me for the play that they used on stage, and you know, on a projector on stage. Just he puts you in a dark room, opens up the lens on the camera, and then takes a flashlight and lights what he wants to see.
Right.
And one night we were doing the show, and I look up on stage. I'm backstage getting ready to go on, and I see that picture of myself, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty striking image. And so I kept my bald head. And then a couple months later, I decided, hey, I'm gonna grow my fro back. Had a big hole in my afro. I was like, oh, I guess that's the end of that.
Did Mr. T ever like reach out to you and say like he liked your impression?
Nah. It was a clear spoof of him. I saw it recently. Somebody posted it on Facebook recently. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. The thing about like impressions is people either love them or they like don't love them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, well, it's kind of, you can't win both duels with that sword or whatever the English say.
That and drawings and paintings of a person. I've received a few drawings and paintings of myself over the years, and some of them I look at and go, wow. And some of them I look at and go, wow. You know?
Sure.
And then like you also look in your career where like, you know, your stand up, but then you go into your acting abilities, because you're also in two of my favorite movies, K-Pax and The Pursuit of Happiness. So like those are very big drama roles. So like, how did you flip that over, you know?
Well, I always tell people that I'm a better dramatic actor than I am a comedic actor.
Okay.
I work harder at the drama, because with dramatic acting, you got to dig into some ugliness in your own life to get to where you need to be emotionally. And so I work hard at that. Comedy is right here on the surface for me. It's like the way my mind works, it happens easily. Mm-hmm. So it's not a hard thing for me to get at. Okay. So generally, like if I'm doing a play, for example, I tend to do very heavy plays, you know, to feed that dramatic need. You know, I had an agent, my first big agent. They signed me. I was doing Life is a Dream by Calderon. It's a
Right.
classical piece, very heavy character, but King Basilio, who puts his son in a cave and has a guy teach him because it was foretold that his son would take over the throne at an early age.
Mhm.
So trying to beat that prophecy, he puts his son in this cave, and so son turns 18, kills the guy that he has watching over him, and then comes after King Basilio. So very heavy play. The agency saw the play, signed me. About a year later, they saw me do stand-up and never sent me out for another drama.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big. That's probably because like when people see like, I don't know, I want to be an actor, but I know I'm a better stand-up than I'll ever be as an actor, you know? So like when my agent sends me on for like roles, it's always comedy roles. You know what I mean? So I think maybe it's in their head that that's all you could do. You know what I mean?
Which is ridiculous because they signed me when I was doing a classical drama.
Yeah.
My agency now, they get it. They put me out for everything.
Yeah. Do you think that because it also seems like you have a degree in theater too, you know what I mean? Not just stand-up. Like I get that vibe from you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I have a BFA in acting.
Yeah. So do you think that it's easier for you to act before you were a stand-up, or do you think it's easier now that you're doing stand-up?
Well, technically, I kind of started roughly around the same time.
Mhm.
I first started doing stand-up in the 11th grade in 1981. And then didn't get serious about it until after college in 88.
Right.
You know, so
This was before the stand-up bloom, right?
well, see, you're young. You don't really understand what the boom is.
Yeah.
Stand-up boomed, and then TV killed it,
Right.
and then it resurfaced because there was so much stand-up on TV. Evening at the Improv, Caroline's Comedy Hour, all these stand-up comedy shows were on TV. People weren't going to clubs, and so it killed a lot of clubs in America.
Yeah.
So then it came back. So that, I think, is what you call the boom, is when
Right.
it came back.
When everyone was going to comedies, and like even on Sundays it was sold out.
Yeah. And now it's like it's all about your social media. So I hope you guys have some draw and your people start following me so I can get into clubs.
You know what it is like before the pandemic, when we were on the radio, we had a lot of support. We had 22K supporters, and then the pandemic happened, and it's just kind of like, I feel, you know, a good portion of them got COVID and died. Like, that sounds mean to say, but I seriously feel, because I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
listen, if you build it, they will come.
yeah.
They'll come back. You'll be all right.
One of my
Dude.
favorite.
What was that, Alan?
One of my favorite films. They Will Come.
Yeah.
And that's not a porn film. That's the nice one. They Will Come.
Oh, there he goes again. Lord, in the name of Jesus.
I've never seen Alan be this blue. I apologize.
No, I apologize because I'm not a blue comic. I don't know what happened to me.
Yeah.
Well, where are you guys located?
That's a very good question.
Alan's in the city of Angels.
No, well, the city of Inglewood, which is not necessarily the city of Angels. You know.
Oh man, I got to get over to Inglewood. Get me some woodies.
Gang members adore me.
Good.
They say, "I'm cool," which is, I know the vernacular cool, but you drop the L. I'm cool.
Well, you being cool is a very good thing, because otherwise you'd be beat up on the regular.
I walk to the Rouse late at night.
You ever go to Woody's Barbecue?
I do indeed.
I love that place.
It's a good place, indeed it is. I love barbecue.
Get some rib tips and some collards.
I've never been to Woody's Barbecue. In Texas, that there's a barbecue place that I remember. I don't remember what it was called, but it had the best barbecue.
No, where are you now?
I'm in the city of Huntington Beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're out by,
Orange
You're
County
half,
area.
yeah, you're kind of halfway between me and LA.
Where are you?
San Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, San Diego is beautiful.
Oh, nice, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky you. Oh,
Have-
my.
Have you done that that mic drop club? It used to be the Comedy Palace.
Yeah, not yet. I'm booked for the 29th.
Oh my God. You're gonna love it, man.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully it works out. I'm up for a film that looks like I may have to call them and change the date, because if I get this film, then I'll be heading to Texas
Nice.
on the 19th. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I hope you get the film, because it's probably more money in the film.
Well, and it's a lead in a film, so that'd be a good thing.
Yeah. So then I wanted to ask you, like, what's it like being directed by James Cameron, Rob Zombie, and Tim Burton? Because those are three different types of directors,
Yeah. James Cameron, very meticulous, knows exactly what he wants to see. I was supposed to work 2 days, ended up working about 6 weeks. And he would come to me and say, "Hey, what would you say right here?" And I'd say something. He'd say, "Okay, come on." And then I'd go and do my thing. But I loved the fact that he was so prepared and knew what he wanted to see. He's meticulous.
Right.
Because of it, that scene where we're chasing Linda Hamilton down the hallway, we probably ran that hallway 30 times.
Yeah.
And at one point he said, "Hey, I need you guys, when you turn the corner, to stay closer to her as she's running." I said, "You got to slow her down. She's been working out 6 weeks, some days 2 times a day." Our characters are called burly attendants. We didn't even have names. Burly attendant 1, burly attendant 2.
And then you had that girl police officer who tries to hit Schwarzenegger. I thought that was fun. Okay, yep. So Rob Zombie and Tim Burton, like how are those?
So Tim, I was supposed to start work, and they kept moving the start date, and then it became one of those things where finally I get a call, say, "Hey, you working tomorrow?" I said, "No, I'm on a play. We're in tech rehearsals. You got to call my agent." Mm-hmm. So call the agent. They work it out. They're gonna send a car for me to pick me up, take me to set, have me on set, by 6 a.m. and then back in the car to bring me back to rehearsal. Right. In time for rehearsal. So it was really rushed, I felt. But Tim Burton was a really cool dude. I got to say, he had those big square glasses on, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm so glad this worked out." He says, "I really loved when you did the audition." He says, "Say the words that we wrote just to keep the story moving." He says, "But just have fun with it and do what you do." And it gave me a quick little line in the film. Most of the stuff that we didn't make the film because it was just one quick shot. Right. And then we're out. So I really loved working with him on that. I hope to work with him again. Wow, Zombie was amazing to work with. I actually worked with him twice. The first time was on the first Rob Zombie Halloween. Mm-hmm. And what happened was I was a guard in the asylum, and I'm sitting at the front desk, and my partner goes to the restroom, and was it Jason? Is that what it is? Jason goes in. Michael goes in and kills him in the restroom. And the whole time he's in the restroom, we're having this conversation from the front desk. I'm yelling stuff into him. He's yelling stuff back. And so Zombie was like, "Okay, we do a take." And he says, "Look," he says, "Mark, I loved your audition. So just, say this stuff that I wrote just to keep the scene going, but don't stop talking. This guy really loves to hear himself talk." I was like, "All right." So I just start freelancing, doing some improv, and he'd call cut, and he'd come over laughing, and he'd go, "Hey, that was great. You said this, this, and this, and this. Make sure you put that in there on this next take, and then, but do another one different, but keep those 4 things." And so I said, "Okay." So we did that about 10 times. Right. And he says, "Okay, so let's do all of that stuff together." And so we just read all of that. And then we did another take, and then we had Mike Myers come out, and he's supposed to, he's killed the guy in the bathroom already. He's supposed to come into the office, kill me, and then go through the window. And so, this is the end of the day, so we're losing time. So he comes out, and he doesn't come in and kill me. He just kicks through the front door.
So he liked you.
And walks out. No. The actor made the choice to go through the front door instead of coming in and killing me.
Oh, okay.
And so we didn't have time to fix the door and go back and do it again. So that was that. So I remember that summer getting a call from Zombie out of the blue. It was like, Rob Zombie is calling me at home. and he said, hey, Mark, I just wanted to let you know that, I love what you did on set. He says, really came up with some great stuff. He says, but I'm trying to get down to 90 minutes. And because he didn't kill you, he says, I'm going to cut you out. He says, but I don't want you to think it's because of your acting. He says, it's clearly just luck of the draw. He didn't kill you. So there we go.
It's Tyler's fault.
Exactly. When I see Tyler again. And so, but he said, however, when I do the next one, you'll be in it.
Oh, and that's awesome.
And he was true to his word. Yeah.
So you were in both of them. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Hopefully at some point I'll be in a director's cut of that first one, which would be good. But at this point, I did them both. I got paid for them both, but I'm only seen in the second one.
Yeah. Now, my next question is probably a question you don't get asked a lot, because I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie. But one of my favorite movies is That Darn Cat. So I wanted to ask, what was that? Because I think for a Disney film, I thought that was very funny.
So That Darn Cat is a remake of That Darn Cat.
Yeah.
And
Doug.
And I thought it was terrible. I thought Doug was horribly miscast, and I probably should have played that part because I'd have been way better.
Right.
In fact, I met John Ratzenberger on the plane going to do that, and it turns out all of our stuff was together.
Right.
And so I couldn't go to the original screening, and neither could he. So his people, I guess, heard about a screening that they were doing for some execs, and we got to go to that. And there were about 6 kids in there, this exec screening, and the kids only laughed when we were on screen.
Yeah.
So I thought the movie missed. It had some funny stuff in it, but I thought it missed completely. If you watch the original, it's so much more fun than this one.
Yeah. I actually think this one was better than the original, but I also think maybe it's because I'm friends with Doug. You know what I mean? So I feel because Doug told me that he said that it was either Eddie Murphy or Chris Rock was up for that part, and then the last day they canceled, so that's how he got it or something.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm sorry I trashed your friend, but I thought
it's okay. I mean, hey, we're all well. See, that's the thing. Like comics, that's the business. You know what I mean? It's all love. It's trash love. You know what I mean?
Does he do stand up?
He doesn't do it anymore, but he did. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was a stand up.
Yeah. I feel like what ruined his acting, because he did all those Disney movies, and in the time that was where. There was no money in Disney, but that was where everyone was going to, and now it's you're typecast to just doing Disney stuff,
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is from the kid who got an audition for
maybe what ruined his career was he wasn't very good at it.
Touche. Now I wanted to ask you. So now we move on to Chuck, which is, one of the best shows of all time. But you were just a regular on the first season, then you became a series regular. So, how did you snag that?
So, when I auditioned, the part was I auditioned. First of all, I auditioned for the part of Harry Tank,
right?
And didn't get it. And Schwartz loved what I did at the audition and wrote the character Big Mike for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way casting pitched it to my agents was that, it's probably going to be a high and by kind of thing. He may work a couple of episodes here and there, and that'll be it. But I come in, do the second episode after the pilot, and then I'm in every episode the whole first season. And the part got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it became a point. There came a point where I don't know if you remember the one episode where I run out. I think maybe it was the pineapple episode, and I jump across the counter. I slide across the counter and then chase people out the door, trying to get people to come back in. And so basically, that's a stunt. You do a stunt. Generally, you get a stunt ball. And it was negotiated. It wasn't even talked about. And I called my agent. I said, "Hey, look. So I did a stunt last night. They didn't talk to you about it." I said, "They didn't talk to me about it. Just said, this is what's gonna happen." I said, so basically we gave him a stunt for free, and I'm not even, making top of show every episode. So tell him I'm not coming back for this money. And so my agent says, well, you got to be prepared for them to write you out. I said, well, I'm okay with being written out. I said, I'd rather be at home looking for a job than being on set, not making the money I should be making for a part that I know is a series regular part.
Right.
And so he says, okay, I'll go in and talk to him. So he calls casting, and then he calls me back the next day. He says, okay, are you sitting down? I said, no. He says, well, here's what happened. Talk to casting. Casting says that they've already talked to producers about locking down people. They had to lock down some people who weren't series regulars if they want to keep them. And Peter Roth, he says, who loves you, by the way. I said, yeah, I see Peter Roth out and about in town, and he's a really good guy. He says, well, they're paying you more for the rest of this season, and Friday we're going to cut a deal for season 2 to make you series regular. And that's how it happened.
Wow. So that must have been like a nice little, because at the time everyone loved Chuck, and then it was also one of those shows where it was like I like to call a mystery 8. You know what I mean? It was such a great show, but after every season, you don't know if it'll come back.
Well, yeah, that was the horrible part of it, was that it was a Warner Brothers show, and NBC licensed it. So the presidents at NBC didn't really want the show.
Right.
So every season they'd wait to see what they picked up of their own stuff to see if we had a slot. So we lost writers every season. Every season, we have to wait and see if we had any writers left. And by the end of it, I think Chris Fedak and only 2 other writers are still there.
How many writers are usually on a show like that?
Probably about 8 or 10.
Wow. So and that's different from sitcom writing, because even though I wouldn't consider Chuck a sitcom.
No, it's the same.
Oh,
it's
really?
The same. Chuck was basically a sitcom.
Oh.
Just single camera.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Do you think single cameras are better than 3 cameras?
Personally, if I was directing, I'd rather use single camera, because comedically there's more stuff you can do.
Right.
When you have 3 cameras, really it's 4. You kind of stuck to these sets that are 3-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of have to play it that way. But with single camera, there's all kinds of stuff you can do because you shoot it like a movie.
Right. Now, when was the transaction where studios went from because they would, when you do sitcoms and stuff, they would have audiences there and laugh tracks, and now it seems like they don't. And this was before COVID. They don't have a live audience.
I don't know when that happened. I because I was on Chuck for all those years, I didn't do any sitcoms. I think the only other show that I did while I was on Chuck was was it Weeds? No, Heroes.
Heroes,
and that was the drama. So they shot the same way we did. It was single camera at night.
Yeah, Heroes was another one of those Magic 8 shows. Fantastic, but you never knew if it was coming back.
It got weird though.
Yeah.
Heroes got weird, and they lost me after about season 3.
Yeah.
They in fact, Heroes, I think, is probably one of the causes of Chuck losing some fan base, because after the writer's strike, midway through the first season, the studio decided to put Heroes on in the 8 o'clock time slot on Monday, and played all 22 episodes, and then put us on.
Right.
And so by then, people thought we were canceled.
Right.
And so I think, in fact, we were beating Big Bang Theory in the numbers at that time. The only people that were beating us was Monday Night Football and Dancing with the Stars. And when Monday Night Football would go off, we would pick up about a million viewers at the end of Monday Night Football.
And that's like the sweet spot too for a Monday.
Yeah. And so needless to say, when Big Bang Theory, they got their big raise, I was like, dang it. Had they put us back on, we'd probably be getting raises by now.
Now, I wanted to ask about this new movie that just came out. It came out in the theaters, but because it was one of the first movies that came out in the theaters since where I'm at, where we reopened. It was Camp Nowhere.
Family Camp,
yeah. And you were like the main guy in that. So like, I wanted to ask you, like,
not really. I was the pastor of a church, but the skit guys are the main guy.
Right.
Those dudes are hilarious. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they've been friends since like high school, and their chemistry is amazing.
So I wanted to ask you, like, what was that like? Because it seems like it was filmed during this whole COVID stuff and like the procedures and stuff. How was that?
Yeah, we shot that in June of 2020. There were no procedures in place yet. They shot in Oklahoma, which was still wide open.
Right.
We shot at a campground in Oklahoma, and I was more worried about getting Lyme disease than I was about getting COVID. The second AD, from the time I got there to the time I left, pulled 26 ticks off of himself out there on that campground. So every night I get back to the hotel and just scour my body looking for ticks.
Did you end up? I mean, you don't have to answer this because it's personal, but did you end up getting COVID or no?
I think I had COVID back in December of 19.
Wow.
I remember being in Canada doing a show for a church in Canada, and after that show, I had like this little scratchy, dry cough that felt like sand in my chest, and it didn't go away until like February. And I went to, my doctors wouldn't even call in COVID at that time. They didn't know what it was.
Right.
And so I go to my doctor, and she treats me for bronchitis, and it wouldn't go away. And then I went to acupuncture, and it's a Chinese herbal medicine place, and they gave me a couple of bottles of herbal capsules. They said, okay, take this one during the daytime, this one at night. And it just started bringing stuff up. And finally, about the end of January, beginning of February, it went away.
Did you ever get memory loss? Because I just got over COVID about a month ago, and I'm like having major memory loss.
No, I've always been kind of foggy.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't have major loss. My sis had it, and I think we both got it right around the same time in October of 20. But for me, it was a sinus infection.
Right.
Which makes me think that I had it back in December of 19.
Right.
For her, she ended up hospitalized. And she
God.
had, she had the COVID brain. She had the loss of taste. It took a while for her taste to come back. But me personally, I didn't get all that.
No. Well,
I didn't even have a fever. I just had like chills for 2 nights, and the worst sinus infection I'd ever had, but it was gone in 4 days.
Right. So it sounds like you got the lucky stick, and unfortunately, the sister got the unlucky stick.
Yeah, and that's my road dog, man. It's like she went on the road with me to do some shows in Arizona, and it was the first time that as adults we went on like a road trip together, and it was really, really cool to hang out with her. So I was worried about her.
Did when you guys do these, does she open and you close, or is it vice versa?
No, she doesn't do stand up.
I thought she opened for it.
No, she just went on the trip, and it was cool for her to see, how I operate on the road.
Because I always see like a wife and a husband comedy team, but I never see a brother and a sister.
You know what? She could probably do stand up. She put her mind to it. She could do it, but she has no interest in it. But because she's funny, we make each other laugh all the time.
Right.
And I think if she wanted to be a stand-up, she'd be very good at it.
Oh. Alan, do you have any last second questions for the great Mark Christopher Lawrence?
Well, I tell you something, that fear of a black hat that he did was just hilarious. And I'll be quite frank with you, that could easily and should be a sketch on SNL. And it made me, I tell you, it made me laugh. I loved it. That fear of a black hat. And not to make a big deal about it, but I joke about this.
Yeah.
I had a routine, about a Nazi security guard company who had that one in there about the security guard. And he pulls over, the men.
Yeah.
God, I couldn't believe it because people say, "Oh, that's a bad bit. That's not going to work," and all that. And damn, bro, that's my bit. Now, you know what I'm saying? That was funny as shit. And they have not attacked security guards enough. Anyway,
that movie was fun to work with because it was Rusty. I've known Rusty since I was in 11th grade. One of my mentors introduced me to Rusty.
Yeah.
And we shot a short called "The Trial of NWH."
Oh,
and he used that to shop his writing. And in the process, Chris Rock's company, they saw it, so they approached him and asked him, would he write CB4? And he was like, well, the only way I'd write it if I could direct it. I said, well, what would you do? He says, well, I get rid of the plot, make it a mockumentary like this is Spinal Tap. And they didn't hire him. Mm-hmm. And then they hired Penelope Spears to direct it. And in the meantime, ITC Entertainment Group saw the short and wanted to make the movie. So we recast the guy who Larry B. Scott ended up playing, Tasty Taste, and recast Tim, who was one of the managers of the Jam Boys, who kills one of our managers. And it's like I watch it, and it's the only thing I've ever done in my whole career that I just watch and laugh. Because I watched it go. I was a terrible actor then, but it was a very funny movie.
Yeah.
And my mom saw it. She went to the screening to the premiere. I was in Canada doing stand up, so my sister already knew about it. Because I was giving her the play-by-play every day, and so my mom, I get a text message from her. No, I had a beeper at the time still. So she beeps me, and I call, and she leaves a message. She says, well, I saw your little movie. She said, I had to go home and repent. She says, it was pretty funny. And then she goes, did you have to show your booty?
That's funny.
Apparently one of her friends from church went with her.
Well, that's mothers of comics are terrified.
Oh man, she's so funny. She doesn't even know how funny she is.
That's funny. That's funny.
Mark, I had one more question for you. Because you're a pretty clean comic. I was wondering, when you started, were you always that clean? And like as you got older, how is it to write clean and perform clean? Like, is it easier?
I always started pretty clean. Back in the days of my humble beginnings, I used to open every once in a while for Robin Harris, who he lived, would probably been one of the he probably would have been one of the GOATs that we'd be talking about.
Right.
During the Black Comedy Act Theater years, people didn't come to see the other comics. You know, he hosted the show. People came to see him.
Right.
And I remember opening for him one Saturday at a park in Carson. And he did the exact same act he did the night before at Black Comedy Act Theater, squeaky clean. And I said to him, I said, Robin, I said, that was basically the same act as last night. He says, yeah. He says, look, right clean. He says, you can work anywhere. Mm-hmm. He says, it's if you get to a place where, you know, you have to dirty up a joke, it's easy to dirty up a joke. He says, but if a joke is dirty by premise, you can't clean that up.
Right.
Best advice anybody ever gave me in comedy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's actually
second best advice came from Bill Cosby.
Oh, what was the advice Bill Cosby gave you?
So I was working on Ghost Dad, and I'm sitting in my trailer watching a 7-minute tape of myself from Ice House.
Uh-huh.
And Bill and Sidney Poitier pass by, and he sees me watching it. He stops, and he steps up on my little trailer steps. He goes, hey, how long is it? I said, 7 minutes. He goes, rewind it. He stood there, watched the whole 7 minutes. And he said, you know, it's as if you're afraid of the silence. He says, you're telling so many jokes so fast that you're not giving them a chance to laugh. He says, you're stepping all over laughs. He says, they're listening. He says, look at that, they're listening. He says, after the joke lands, let the laughter subside. Don't talk, don't move until it subsides, and then go. I went from 7 minutes to 25 minutes overnight.
Whoa.
Guess I'm taking that note. I literally was doing 25 minutes of jokes in 7 minutes.
Wow.
So I was all of a sudden a feature.
I saw Cosby film his last special before, you know, all the demons came out about him. But
yeah.
Like you know, I don't agree with what, you know, he did, but like stand-up wise, if we're talking about strictly stand-up and talent wise, I thought he was the funniest comedian I've ever seen.
The way he tells a story is brilliant.
Yeah.
No way about it. I mean, like, some of the stuff in his act is not hysterical, but the way he tells it is crazy funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Sinbad. You watch Sinbad and
I love Sinbad.
And it's the same thing. I worked with him at Rupp Arena with Henry Cho and Bill Engvall. And I went up first, and they had a singer, and then Bill goes up. No, Henry Cho goes up, and then they have a magician or who gets out of a straitjacket hanging from the ceiling, and then Sinbad, who had them bring the lights up, and his first 10 minutes talked to the audience and was destroying with crowd work, and then went into his act. And then they brought Bill up, and Bill started telling the story about being on Dancing with the Stars, and crickets. Oh. And I understand why they had Bill last, because it was Kentucky.
Right.
You figured the blue collar tour connection, but they didn't want to hear that. They wanted to hear, here's your sign.
Right.
And he stayed on that Dancing with the Stars story, and it didn't go well.
Some people, when they perform, right, regard if they're getting crickets, they might think they're still doing good. You know, like I've seen that happen. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I'm not.
You got 10,000 people, and you can hear the crickets. Chances are it's not going well.
Yeah.
It's kind of because like I used to tour with Norm Macdonald, and the second act, you know, like the guy who would host, and then it was me. The guy who would host would do bad. His name was Barry Sobel, right?
Oh yeah, I remember Barry.
Yeah, and I would just be like, you know, crickets. And I'd be like, I didn't think, you know, what happened. He's like, what are you talking about? I killed. I'm like, you sure did.
Yeah, you were on the wrong end of that firearm.
Well, Mark, where can the folks at home follow and support you?
MarkChristopherLawrence.com, scroll down to the bottom. All of my social media is there. I'm easy to find. Mark Christopher Lawrence.
All right. Well, thank you so much for rifting with us, man.
Hey, thank you, man. It's like it was interesting to hear some of the stuff you talked about, because I do a lot of interviews, and yours was not like everybody else's, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I feel the best interview is just to have fun, and regardless if you fuck up, as long as you're having fun, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Have a good time and do it. People keep telling me I should get a podcast, but I don't know what to talk about.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. You're a joy. And
thank you so much, man.
You could have Doug be your trusty sidekick.
Hey, if Doug hears the interview, tell him I'm sorry.
He knows. We all love each other. Mark, have a great day, buddy, and thank you so much.
All right, man. You guys take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. That was the interview with Mark Christopher Lawrence.
Comedy lesson from this Professor Mark Lawrence.
Yeah. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.